Imagine this. You say something. Maybe it was in a conversation. Maybe it was through a text message. And then, nothing. No reply. No response. Just silence. You wait. You check your phone. You wonder what you said wrong. You replay the whole conversation in your head. You feel confused, then anxious, then maybe even guilty, even though you are not sure what you did. That silence, that is not an accident. That is a weapon, and the person using it knows exactly what they are doing. Today we are going to talk about the silent treatment, what it is, why it works so powerfully, who uses it, and most importantly, how you protect yourself from it. If you have ever been on the receiving end of this video is going to explain everything you felt and why you felt it. Stay with me, this is important. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, this channel is about understanding the darker side of human behavior, how people manipulate, control, and influence others, so that you can protect yourself, grow stronger, and build better relationships. Today's topic is one of the most requested subjects in the comments, and I understand why. Because almost every single person alive has experienced the silent treatment at some point. Some of you are experiencing it right now, in relationships, with family members, at work, even with friends. The silent treatment feels personal, it feels devastating, it can shake your confidence, make you question your worth, and leave you feeling completely powerless. But here is what I want you to understand. That feeling of powerlessness is not an accident. It is the entire point. So let us break this down completely. By the end of this video, you are going to understand this psychological weapon better than most therapists explain it. Let us start with the basics. What exactly is the silent treatment? At its simplest, the silent treatment is when someone deliberately stops communicating with you as a way to punish, control, or manipulate you. Now, I want to make something very clear right from the beginning. There is a big difference between two things that look similar from the outside, but are completely different in nature. The healthy version, taking space. Sometimes a healthy, mature person needs to step away from a conversation. They might say, "I need a few minutes to calm down before we talk about this." Or, "I am feeling overwhelmed right now. Can we revisit this tomorrow?" That is emotional regulation. That is healthy. That is someone who knows themselves well enough to avoid saying something they will regret. In a healthy relationship, space is communicated. Both people know why the pause is happening, and both people know it is temporary. The toxic version, the silent treatment. The silent treatment is completely different. It is not a break for emotional regulation. It is a deliberate withdrawal of communication as a form of punishment. The key difference? Intent and communication. With the silent treatment, there is no explanation, no timeline, no indication of when or if the silence will end. The person simply disappears from your emotional world. They might still be physically present. You might live in the same house, work in the same office, or see them every day. But emotionally, they have completely shut you out. And here is what makes it so effective as a weapon. It leaves you completely in the dark. You do not know what you did wrong. You do not know how to fix it. You do not know how long this will last. That uncertainty is not a side effect. It is the strategy. What does it look like in real life? Let me paint a picture. Maybe you have seen this or lived it. You have a disagreement with your partner. Instead of talking it through, they go completely quiet. No eye contact. One-word answers if you are lucky. They walk past you like you are invisible. Your texts go unanswered. Your attempts to start a conversation are met with a cold shoulder. Days pass, maybe a week. You are walking on eggshells trying to figure out what you did and how to make it stop. That is the silent treatment. And it is happening in millions of homes, relationships, and workplaces right now. Now let us get into the psychology. Why is the silent treatment so effective? Why does it hurt so deeply? And why do some people use it? Why it hurts. The science of social pain. Here is something fascinating from neuroscience. Studies have shown that being socially excluded, ignored, rejected, left out, activates the same regions of the brain as physical pain. Let me say that again. When someone ignores you, Your brain processes it in the same way it would process a punch in the stomach. Socially, to the human brain, being ignored is a form of pain. This makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint. For thousands of years, humans survived in groups. Being rejected from your tribe meant death, so our brains evolved to treat social rejection as a survival threat. The person giving you the silent treatment is, whether consciously or not, triggering this deep survival instinct inside you. Your body goes into a kind of distress response. This is why you might feel physically anxious, why your chest tightens, why you cannot sleep, why you cannot stop thinking about it. Your nervous system is treating this like a real threat, because in many ways it is. The manipulation mechanism. Now here is where it gets dark. Let us talk about why someone uses the silent treatment as a tool. Think about what the silent treatment actually does. It creates a power imbalance immediately. The person giving it holds all the control. They decide when the silence starts. They decide when, or if, it ends. They control the emotional temperature of the entire relationship. And you are left scrambling, desperately trying to understand, trying to fix something you may not have even broken in the first place. There are several psychological goals behind the silent treatment. Let me walk you through each one. Goal 1, punishment. The most obvious purpose: you did something, or they perceived that you did something that they did not like. Instead of communicating like an adult, they punish you with silence. They want you to feel bad. They want you to suffer, and they want you to associate that suffering with whatever you did, so you do not do it again. It is essentially the same thing you do to train an animal. Reward good behavior, punish bad behavior. Except here, a human being is treating another human being like a trained animal. Goal 2, control. The silent treatment is incredibly effective at establishing dominance in a relationship. Think about it. The moment someone gives you the silent treatment and you go chasing after them, apologizing, trying to fix things, begging for communication, who has the power in that dynamic? They do, completely. And if it works once, they learn. This is how I get what I want. This is how I keep this person in line. This is how I stay in control. Goal 3, emotional manipulation. Over time, the silent treatment rewires how you behave. You start walking on eggshells. You start censoring yourself. You stop expressing opinions that might upset them. You change who you are to avoid triggering the silence. This is one of the most insidious effects. You slowly lose yourself trying to maintain peace with someone who weaponizes silence against you. Goal 4, avoiding accountability. Here is one that many people miss. Sometimes the silent treatment is not about punishing you at all. It is about the person avoiding having to take responsibility for their own behavior. If they did something wrong, starting a conflict, or going silent after being confronted, means they never have to acknowledge it, apologize, or change. The silence deflects the conversation away from their wrongdoing and puts you on the defensive. Now let us talk about who uses the silent treatment. This is important because not every person who goes quiet is a toxic manipulator, but there are certain personality types that use it systematically as a core strategy. The narcissists are probably the most well-known users of the silent treatment, and for good reason. For a narcissist, the silent treatment is a core part of what is known as the narcissistic abuse cycle. Here is how it typically works. First, they idealize you. They love bomb you, shower you with attention, affection, compliments. You feel like the most special person in the world. Then comes the devaluation phase. Slowly, or sometimes suddenly, you start to feel like you cannot do anything right. Criticisms, coldness, and yes, the silent treatment. And then, just when you are at your lowest, they come back, warm again, loving again. And you feel such relief that you forgive everything, forget everything, and the cycle begins again. The silent treatment is how narcissists maintain control and keep you emotionally off balance. If you always feel slightly uncertain about where you stand with them, you are always working to keep them happy. And that is exactly where they want you, the emotionally avoidant person. Now, this is a very different profile. Some people use the silent treatment not because they want to control you, but because they genuinely do not know how to handle conflict or difficult emotions. These are people who grew up in homes where emotions were not discussed, where conflict meant danger, where silence was survival. So when difficult conversations arise, they shut down, not necessarily to punish, but because they literally do not have the tools to stay present in emotional discomfort. The impact on you is the same. The intent is different, and that distinction matters when you decide how to respond. This type of person can change with self-awareness and therapy. The narcissist generally cannot and will not. The passive-aggressive person. Passive aggression is indirect expression of hostility. Instead of saying, "I am angry with you," the passive-aggressive person shows it through behavior, including silence. These individuals often grew up in environments where expressing anger directly was not safe or acceptable. So they learned to express it sideways, through sulking, through the cold shoulder, through doing nothing when they know they should do something. The silent treatment for this profile is about expressing anger and resentment without the vulnerability of actually admitting to it. The controller. This person uses the silent treatment as a deliberate, conscious strategy of power and control. They may not be a full narcissist, but they have learned that silence works. It gets them what they want. It ends arguments on their terms. It trains their partners and family members to behave in certain ways to avoid the silence. This person knows exactly what they are doing, and they have been doing it for a long time. I want to take a moment here to speak directly to those of you who have been on the receiving end of this, because I want you to understand something important. What you felt and what you are feeling is a completely normal response to a genuinely harmful experience. You are not weak. You are not oversensitive. You are not dramatic. You are a human being whose fundamental need for connection was deliberately and maliciously denied. Anxiety and hypervigilance. Long-term exposure to the silent treatment creates a state of constant anxiety. You are always scanning the environment, trying to read the other person's mood. Am I okay? Are they about to go silent again? What did I do? What might I do? This hypervigilance is exhausting. It pulls your energy away from everything else in your life, your work, your other relationships, your own peace of mind. Low self-esteem. When someone punishes you repeatedly with silence, you begin to internalize the message. I am not worthy of communication. My feelings do not matter. I am the problem. Over time, this erodes your sense of self-worth. You start to believe that you deserve to be treated this way. Confusion and self-doubt. The silent treatment thrives in ambiguity. Because you are never told exactly what you did wrong, you are left guessing. And guessing becomes a full-time mental occupation. You replay conversations. You analyze your own words. You wonder if you imagine things. This confusion and self-doubt is a direct result of the tool being used against you. The isolation effect. In a romantic relationship or close family dynamic, being given the silent treatment by the person who is supposed to be your closest emotional support is profoundly isolating. You feel alone, even in a room with another person, even in a full house. The emotional isolation created by deliberate silence can be one of the loneliest feelings a human being can experience. Long-term mental health effects research has linked chronic experiences of the silent treatment and social exclusion to depression, anxiety disorders, and even post-traumatic stress in severe cases. This is not a minor inconvenience. It is a genuine form of emotional abuse, okay? Now we get to the most important part. What do you actually do about this? Because understanding what the silent treatment is and how it works is powerful. But knowing how to respond to it, that is where you take your power back. Step 1, recognize it for what it is. The first thing you must do is call it what it is. Not they just need space, not I must have really messed up, not this is how they are and I just have to wait it out. The silent treatment is a manipulation tactic. Name it. In your own mind at least, be clear. This is not okay. This is not healthy. This is not love. Naming it removes some of its power over you. When you can see the game being played, you are less controlled by it. Step 2, do not chase. This is the hardest one. Because every instinct you have is telling you to go fix it, to apologize, to reach out, to do whatever it takes to end the silence. And I understand that impulse completely. Remember, your brain is treating this as a survival threat. Of course you want to resolve it, but here is the truth. Every time you chase someone who is giving you the silent treatment, you reinforce the behavior. You are telling them without words, this works. Keep doing this. This is how you get a response from me. Chasing also shifts all the power to them. And once they have all the power, you have none. Instead, do not chase. Give them their silence. Go live your life. This is incredibly difficult, but it is essential. Step 3. State your feelings. Once clearly. You do not have to disappear or play games in return. You are allowed to state once, calmly and clearly, how you feel and what you need. Something like, I notice you are not speaking to me right now. When you are ready to talk about what is bothering you, I am here, but I am not going to keep reaching out into a one-way conversation. Then follow through. Say it once, mean it, and stop there. This accomplishes 2 things. It communicates that you are not going to play the game, and it models what healthy communication actually looks like. Step 4. Use the time to focus on yourself. While they are in their silence, you have a choice. You can spiral, replaying, ruminating, suffering in a self-created prison of anxiety. Or you can redirect that energy, call a friend, go for a walk, work out, read, create something. Do the things that make you feel whole and alive. This is not just a distraction strategy. It is a genuine act of self-respect. You are telling yourself, my life does not stop because someone else has chosen to punish me with silence. Step 5. Have the bigger conversation. When they finally do come back, and they usually do, the conversation cannot just return to normal like nothing happened. This is the moment to address the pattern itself, not just what they were silent about, the silence itself. You might say, I want to talk about what just happened. When you stop speaking to me without explanation, it feels hurtful. I need us to find a different way to handle conflict. Their response to that conversation will tell you everything you need to know about whether this relationship has a future. Step 6. Know when to walk away. And finally, the hardest truth of all, if someone repeatedly uses the silent treatment on you, refuses to acknowledge it as a problem, refuses to change, and your emotional well-being is suffering seriously as a result, you have to ask yourself a hard question. Is staying worth what it is costing you? You cannot fix someone who does not see a problem. You cannot love someone into treating you better. And you deserve to be in relationships where communication happens even when it is hard. Walking away from something harmful is not failure. It is self-respect. Here is what I want you to take away from all of this. The silent treatment works because it targets something deeply human in all of us. Our need for connection, our fear of rejection, our desire to belong. Understanding that is not a weakness. It is biology. It is psychology. It is being human. But once you understand how the tool works, you can choose not to be controlled by it. You can see through the manipulation. You can protect your peace. Healthy relationships are not free from conflict. But in a healthy relationship, both people commit to working through conflict with words, not weapons, with communication, not control. You deserve that, not as a nice to have, as a baseline, as a minimum standard for how you allow yourself to be treated. If someone in your life cannot offer you that, that is information. Very important, very valuable information. If this video resonated with you, I want you to know, you are not alone. The comments on this channel remind me every single day that so many people are navigating these exact situations. If you found value here, please hit the like button. It genuinely helps this content reach more people who need it. Subscribe if you want to keep understanding the hidden psychology behind behavior, relationships, and the way people think and act. And if you are currently dealing with someone who uses the silent treatment, drop a comment below. Tell me your experience. Ask your question. I read every single one. You deserve clarity, you deserve respect, and you deserve to understand the world. and the people in it more deeply than most people ever will. I will see you in the next one.